Is low-budget hunting ammo any good, or is it just cheap junk? Well, today we're going to find out. Welcome back to LocaCarnivore, the hunting, guns, and outdoor channel for smart people. You're smart because you're watching us instead of all that vapid garbage that's out there in the YouTube verse. Today we're going to talk about low-budget hunting ammo. I like this Blue Box Federal PowerShock or Remington Core-Locked or Winchester Super X, in the white box or somewhat silvery box, depending on which generation it is. We're asking the question, is this any good? Is this a good way to save money on hunting by going with lower cost ammunition, more budget-minded ammunition? Or should you be using something like this Federal Premium? This happens to be their Terminal Ascent ammunition. Should you be using something like this, or will the basic ammo get the job done? That's a really good question. We're going to answer that for you today. If you like what you see here on the channel and you think you're getting value, give us a big like, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell down there so that you'll get notified of every new video that we put out. So there's pluses and minuses about low budget ammunition. First plus is it's a lot less expensive than the premium stuff, on the order of 30 to even 100% less expensive, depending on the brand and the bullet type and everything like that. And of course the ammo companies, their marketing departments spend a great deal of money and a great deal of time trying to convince you that their premium offerings are vastly superior to their more budget-minded, their basic loads. And so the big question is, should you be buying that premium stuff, or can you get away with spending less money on the less expensive ammunition? Well, there's several things that you need to consider. First of all, and it's not just the price, but before we talk about all the ins and outs, let's talk about the main point of hunting ammunition. What does hunting ammunition do? At the end of the day, hunting ammunition is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is put a high-speed bit of metal into a large game animal and drop that animal as quickly and humanely as possible. So that's the mission here. And then you can get into arguments about the range and accuracy, all these other little technical esotericas that people love to spend countless hours on the internet debating, and quite frankly sometimes just simply screaming at people about this load or that load or this bullet or that bullet. So the big question is, will low budget ammunition do that job? Well, in one word, yes. However, there are some buts involved. And for some people, those are major issues, and for other people, they're not such a big issue. Please share this video, put it out there. Let's get it to your friends, the people you like, the people you don't like. Let's put some legs on this bad boy, shall we? Low budget ammunition is lower budget because of several factors. So yes, they used less expensive bullets, easier to produce, less expensive to produce. They also use lower quality propellants. It's still good enough to get the bullet down range in a satisfactory manner, but it's not the best propellants. You won't get the flash suppression additives, things like that. It might be a little sootier, more dirty in your bore and in your gun. You might have to clean the gun a little more intensively and or more frequently. The other thing is they're going to use a standard primer that's suitable for the cartridge, small rifle, large rifle magnum, depending. But it might not be the best match grade type primer. They're generally, sometimes they'll seal the primer pocket from the outside, but a lot of times they don't. Also the brass is going to be more readily available, more mass-produced brass. It's not going to be selected for any sort of uniformity necessarily, as long as it meets the specification and fits in the sizing die. They're basically going to use it. So that's basically it. They're going to use less expensive components, and those less expensive components are going to result in a couple of things. First of all, you're not going to maybe get quite the accuracy you would out of premium ammunition, and that's because the velocity spreads, which is the lowest and highest velocity you can expect out of, say, a box or in a lot of ammunition, is going to be much wider. They don't hold this ammunition to very tight tolerances. So you're going to get that velocity variation, and that is going to lead to that will lead to variations in group size and trajectory as well. You might have one bullet that'll hit, say, right at point of aim, and another bullet going substantially slower because it's not as consistent. will hit a little lower. Also, your bullets are not going to be quite as accurate or quite as stable because they're not being selected for weight and uniform dimension and all the other things that go into, say, a match load or something like that, or their premium hunting loads. Our channel depends exclusively on support from viewers like you. So we have a link down to our Patreon site down in the description. If you'd kindly go down there, show us a little love. The more budget we get, the better videos we can give you and the more we can give you. So let's take each one of these in turn. First of all, let's talk about accuracy. Yeah, budget ammunition is not nearly as accurate. I've used quite a few different brands of ammunition and types of budget ammunition over the years. I've used Remington Core-Locked, I've used Federal PowerShock, I've used the Winchester X. I think it actually means 10, but it's 10 for the 10 ring. But anyway, everybody knows it's Winchester X. And I've used PPU, for instance, which is produced in Europe, in Eastern Europe. And I've also used Cellier and Beloit ammunition. So I've got a fair experience with using different, what we consider generic or low-budget ammunitions. So as far as accuracy, what kind of differences have I seen in accuracy? Well, when I'm using a premium load with a premium bullet, in most of the guns I've had, most of the time I'm getting 1.5 to less than 1 MOA typically. It's very consistent. The velocity spreads are very short, very narrow, and the trajectories are very predictable. So the ammunition performs very well. That's a good level of accuracy. Now when we go to the budget loads, the group sizes tend to open up a bit. The best I've gotten is maybe around 2 MOA, 1 3/4 MOA with some of these loads, and that in this particular case would be the Federal PowerShock with their newer, they use the Spear Hot Core bullet in there now, not the older bullet. So I found that that is a little more accurate than some of the other loads I've used and other brands, but that's pretty typical for that kind of ammunition. And I've had, I've got one box of PPU in 375 H&H with 300 grain with round nose bullets, and at best I'm holding about 4 MOA with that load. However, we need to ask ourselves, is that sufficient to get the job done? And I would say yes, absolutely. Using normal hunting ranges, and most game animals are taking it inside, well inside 200 yards. So if you figure that 2 MOA at 200 yards is a 4-inch group, and that's quite fine. So 2 MOA is actually usable out to, on larger animals such as elk or moose, that's good to 500 yards because that's a 10-inch point of impact probability. That's a 10-inch group size, if you will. And on deer, you can bring that down, so we're good to 2 MOA is good on deer and antelope to 400 yards because that would be an 8-inch group size, which again, those are the sizes of the effective kill zone, if you will, the effective target area on the in the thoracic cavity on these types of animals. So that's quite adequate. Now that 375 H&H from PPU at 4 MOA, would I hunt with that? Yeah, if I had to, and I didn't have anything else, because even at 100 yards, that's still 4 inches, and at 200 yards, that's 8 inches group. And so if I'm keeping my ranges reasonable, and 375 H&H is not noted as a reach out and touch something at 1,000 yards cartridge, and never was designed for that, it's perfectly adequate, as long as you can hit the animal in the vital spot with a decent bullet, and it'll do the job. The accuracy is, while it's nice to have more accuracy, it's not absolutely critical. And to be honest with you, I can't, and most hunters, and here's the case, your average hunter can't shoot well enough to take advantage of one round that's half MOA versus another round that's 2 MOA. They simply can't take significant advantage of it. So the 2 MOA ammunition is just as useful to them as the half MOA ammunition. You know, we've got great content at our LocaCarnivore website as well. The link's down in the description, like everything else, and we'd appreciate it if you go over there, enjoy some of the great content we have over there. We also have a store, so you can go ahead and get some LocaCarnivore branded merchandise, which we know you'll like. You can give it as gifts or wear it around. We'd appreciate that. The second thing you're going to have to deal with when you're dealing with budget, low budget ammunition or affordable ammunition is bullet trajectory, and that's different from accuracy. We're just talking group size and accuracy. And trajectory is based strictly on ballistic coefficient. What's ballistic coefficient? It is a dimensionless number which describes the rough aerodynamic capabilities of a given projectile. It's all based on the number one, the whole number one being the ideal projectile, whether it's a Spitzer, tail, or whatever it might be, the ideal projectile, and everything that does not meet that is a percentage lower. So like 0.50 BC, 0.500 if you will, is not as good as the 1, but it's certainly better than, say, 0.300 ballistic coefficient. So a higher ballistic coefficient number means that the cartridge is more, the bullet is more aerodynamically efficient, and it will retain its energy farther downrange because there's less drag on the bullet, and also because of that, it will tend to not drop quite as quickly, and it'll generally be more stable downrange as well. And the other thing that higher ballistic coefficients give you is more resistance to wind drift. So what kind of BCs are we talking about with budget ammunition? Well, quite frankly, most of them are going to be in the, depending on the load and all that stuff, between 0.300 and about, at best, 0.45 to 0.425, somewhere in there. To give you a point of reference, say a Nosler Accubon bullet, those typically are, depending on the caliber, blah, 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 those typically are like about 0.475 to 0.550, which is substantially better. So those types of bullets, and that's not just about Nosler, but any bullet that has that higher BC is going to give you more benefit downrange that I just described. However, these lower BC bullets are just fine for your average hunter doing average hunting type jobs. And to be honest, that BC, and I'm going to get some pushback on this, I'm sure, but BC really doesn't become a major deal until you're past about 400 or 500 yards. Because at that point, then your wind drifts are starting to get very severe, your bullet drop is getting substantial, and you also are losing enough velocity due to drag that your energy on target is dropping rather rapidly. But for the average hunter doing an average hunting job at average hunting ranges, these bullets are just fine as far as their lower BCs. Don't get hung up on the BC. Hey, what do you think about what we're saying on this video? Go ahead down in the comments, let us know. Your comments help us produce better quality videos, and for topics that you people are interested in, as opposed to just the stuff I like. The other issue you're going to come into as far as the bullets, besides their low BCs, is bullet construction. On this side, I've got a Winchester PowerPoint. This one happens to be 300 Winchester short mag, 180 grain. And on this side, I've got a Federal Terminal Ascent, which is essentially a further developed version of the old trophy bonded bear claw. Inside 300 yards, when these two bullets hit a game animal, I've noticed that the wounding is very, very similar. In fact, if anything, you're going to get a little more dynamic upset, better, quicker expansion out of this PowerPoint because it's got a softer jacket, softer lead core, and it's not bonded. But that results in a little less penetration. However, I will say when used on like deer, the bullets are complete pass-through anyways, so you've got the penetration. The only time versus this terminal ascent bullet, it's a bonded bullet, it's much more durable, but it's a controlled expansion, so it tends to expand based on the amount of resistance it finds at the target. So if you hit a big, firm, heavy target, it tends to expand a lot more than if you hit a lighter boned, smaller, thinner target, like a deer or something like that. So this is a little better for elk. Would I use this PowerPoint or similar bullets on elk? Sure, I would, but I'm going to have to be a little more careful about my shots, both the range and the type of shot I'm going to take. So with this bullet, with this terminal ascent at a reasonable range, I would not be afraid to send this through the shoulder of a quartering on elk, an elk that's facing to me shoulder first. I wouldn't have any hesitation, even at close range. This at super close range, given the magnum velocities, if it hits that much resistance, it might come apart a lot and it may not penetrate. So I'm going to pick my shots more carefully with this bullet. This bullet gives me a little more margin for error, if you will. It gives me a wider span of shot angles that I can confidently take. But do you need this expensive bullet? This ammunition costs almost twice what this ammunition costs. I would say if you're doing average hunting on average game animals, and especially you don't have to worry about them trying to bite you back, that this bullet, the inexpensive bullet, will probably be just as useful as the more expensive bullet. It's just fine. You don't have to spend the big money on this. So we have answered the question about whether budget, low budget, generic ammunition is any good or not. And in my experience, it is. It's just fine. You don't have to spend the money on premium ammo. If you don't have the money to spend on that, then don't spend on it. These ammunitions will do the job for you. They will take down your game animal at reasonable ranges with proper shot placement, under proper conditions, without any problems whatsoever. In fact, I've shot a number of these loads versus the premium loads, and like I said, especially on the lighter animals like deer, things like that, which most people hunt, those softer, more traditional cup and core bullets actually are a little bit better in some regards, especially the round nose bullets. Inside, say, 300 yards, round nose bullets expand exceptionally well. And you might have noticed I'm wearing my Bear Country chest rig. And if you would like more information about how I put this together, the pros and cons of it, what I liked and don't like, and then the upgrades I've made since I put it together about a year ago. So I'll put down in the description links to the videos for both the when I put this together and the updated version, so you can learn all about it. I think you'll find that very interesting. This video about low budget ammunition is part of our series on low budget hunting. Be sure you check out the other videos that we have in the series, and we'll have some of those links at the end of this video, plus we'll put them down in the description there as far as the overview on low budget hunting and budget hunting guns. That's been very popular. So make sure you check out those videos as well. I hope you got some good value out of this. We thank you so much for spending your valuable time here with us at LocaCarnivore today. And as always, stay aware, stay safe, be kind, and we'll see you next time on LocaCarnivore.